Oxfam just released an amazing study. I was talking about Billionaires just a few minutes ago. And Oxfam International, it's called Profiting from Pain is the title of their study. They note that since the pandemic began 2.5 years ago, 573 new billionaires have been created. That's a new billionaire about every 30 hours, which is pretty astonishing when you think about it. Meanwhile, an estimated 263 million people are expected to crash into extreme poverty this year. That's 1 million people falling into extreme poverty every 33 hours. So we're making a billionaire every 30 hours, and we're putting 1 million people into extreme poverty every 33 hours. Today, 2,668 billionaires own $12.7 trillion. That's an increase over the last 2 years of $3.78 trillion. The world's 10 richest men own more wealth than the bottom 40% of humanity, 3.1 billion people. The richest 20 billionaires are worth more than the entire GDP of sub-Saharan Africa. A worker in the bottom 50% would have to work for 112 years to earn what a person in the top 1% makes in just 1 year. According to this report, the fortunes of the world's billionaires, quote, have not increased because they are now smarter or working harder than the average worker, which is my point, my rant a little earlier. Instead, quote, the super rich have rigged the system with impunity for decades, and now they are reaping the benefits. This is from one of the authors of the report. She writes, they have seized a shocking amount of the world's wealth as a result of privatization of monopolies, gutting regulation and workers' rights, while stashing their cash in tax havens, all with the complicity of government. At the same time, hundreds of millions of regular workers and their families, quote, are skipping meals, turning off the heating, falling behind on bills, and wondering what they can possibly do next to survive. Across East Africa, one person is dying every minute from hunger. This grotesque inequality is breaking the bonds that hold us together as humanity. It is divisive, corrosive, and dangerous. This is inequality that literally kills. Meanwhile, the profit margins of the world's biggest oil companies doubled during the pandemic, while the cost of energy went up by 50%. Citing the nearly $8 trillion in tax havens that the global elite is believed to have stashed around the world, Oxfam says, enough. I'm with them. Enough. It is time for us to realize that this is not a social good. Unlimited accumulation of massive wealth by literally a few thousand people is expanding poverty across the world, and is, particularly when they're using monopolistic business practices to do this, destroying the ability of people to start small businesses, destroying the ability of local economies to operate. You know, before Reagan stopped enforcing the Sherman Antitrust Act back in 1983, every city in America was different. Every town, you walk into downtown, all the stores would be locally owned. They'd have names of local families who ran the Five and Dime or the hotel or the restaurant or the bank. Now it's all the same thing. It's all Wells Fargo and Olive Garden and Marriott's and it's just, it is monopoly now. And who's benefiting from that? A very, very small class of stockholders, owners, executives, and who's hurt? All those small business people who wanted to be able to start a business. And now you've got student debt preventing people from starting businesses. You've got, the average of $13,000 a year just for health insurance, preventing people from starting businesses. The American middle class, the American working class has been crushed by this, while we're making a new billionaire every 30 hours. What is wrong with this picture? Any suggestions on how we can fix this?